Southern Comfort here. I'm out into the greenhouse fixing to head to the garden, but I want to introduce you to an item that I purchased off of Amazon for about $7. This is a garden marker for outdoor use. So it's going to be water and fade resistant. If you're like me, you're writing labels or whether it's plastic or popsicle sticks, I like to write the name of my plant onto it and when I planted it so I can keep up with it. As you can tell, these are starting to, get some wear from the water and starting to fade out. And these are last year. You can see that it's already faded out. But here you'll see that I have last year's marker, and I wrote over it cucumber. And then you see Space Maker. You see that it's a smaller writing. What I like about this pen, it does have a smaller point at the top of it, which is going to make it easier for me to write, save more space, and that's going to be absolutely wonderful. So a garden marker. If you're like me and you're planting lots of plants, you're trying to keep up with all these plants, if you think that you can remember, eventually you will forget. And it doesn't take very long when you're doing lots of plants. It just doesn't take very long. So having an item like this into your greenhouse or into your house to label your, name your tags or labels or however you decide to label your plants, this is really going to be beneficial to me and to the greenhouse. Because there's times I see it starting to fade and I'm like, I need to go ahead and remark that so I don't forget. But if you're like me, you get busy, you're doing this, you got this going on, you need to do this, and then you forget, and then the name is gone, and you're like, oh my God, what was the name of that plant? And then you got to wait for it to grow up, and you have no clue what it is while it's growing, and you kind of look at it. Some plants look alike, and you kind of look at it, and then you're like, oh. But it's so much easier just to write the name of your plants, have it labeled, have it posted somewhere so that you can see. This is last year's. I believe I wrote this one this year. You see how that's already faded out? Give it a couple months, maybe a month or so, and it's going to start totally fading out. Eventually, it's just going to be faded out. Even though this plant, you see how little they are? Even though, and there was one right here. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. The early snowball plants over here. So I should really put this over here so I can keep up with it. See, you got to label your plants so that you can keep up with them, because it really is hard. Here I've used this popsicle stick here, and it's great temporarily, but eventually with the sun and the water, it's going to fade out. And yes, I know what the plant looks like, but when they're smaller, you can like, what is that plant? You can forget when you're planting a lot. So a garden marker. Invest into a little investment, invest into this, and it'll save you a lot of time. It'll be great also for like I write names on my little pots here so I can keep up with the name of my plants. This is last year's, and so I save this, and then I'll just take and mark through it and write another name on to my container. Garden marker. Loving this already. Just started to use it. It's going to take the pressure off of knowing what plant is what plant. Thanks guys, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you on to the next video. So yep, now I can go through and mark all these to make sure. See right here, there's nothing planted down. I just planted some seeds. So I definitely need to know what is planted there, because if they start coming up and this is faded out, I have no clue what it is. And daisies take a while to grow before you can even tell what they are. At least that's from my experience.